Hello, glad you can join us. Here are the stories we've been working on today. A stunning twist in a CTV investigation into a network of sexual predators.
Behind bars is going to stop it.
How W5 unraveled a web of sordid evidence.
Meeting global challenges requires global partnerships.
The top shared priorities as G7 countries navigate trade tensions.
It's just overwhelming.
Plus, a duty to remember the poignant ways Canada is paying tribute.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
A major development in a CTV-W5 investigation into an online sex abuse network. It involves men who secretly drug and videotape the mistreatment of their own wives and girlfriends. After infiltrating the group, W5 shared evidence with police in Switzerland, evidence that has now put a man behind bars. W5's Avery Haynes broke the story and is here with us now. Tells us what she's learned. Avery.
Sandy, initially all I had to go on was this, a man who was uploading videos of himself wearing this mask as he sexually abused a seemingly unconscious woman. We nicknamed him Henri, and while I was undercover, he offered to mentor me, sending me sickening emails describing in horrifying detail how every week he was secretly drugging and videotaping his wife. Canadian criminal profiler Jim Van Allen analyzed our email conversations.
Henri really matches the overall expectations of a drug-facilitated sexual assault offender. Personable, charming, manipulative, a flare of narcissism.
Henri shared enough about himself that I was able to give police his full name as well as his address. He is now behind bars in Geneva, Switzerland on charges of rape and sexual coercion. Sandy?
Okay, Avery, thank you. Now you can watch CTV National News tonight at 11 to find out how Avery followed digital breadcrumbs to reveal Henri's identity for Swiss police. Ghislaine Maxwell, the woman who helped convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein prey on children and young women, wants Donald Trump to commute her sentence. And according to a whistleblower, Maxwell is also receiving special luxuries in prison. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon now on the tempest the revelations have unleashed. Joy.
Sandy, from playing with puppies to personalized perks, it sounds like Ghislaine Maxwell's getting the country club treatment.
Outside this prison camp in Texas, Ghislaine Maxwell is reportedly working on her freedom. The convicted sex trafficker plans to ask President Donald Trump to commute her prison sentence. That's according to the top Democrat on the congressional committee investigating Jeffrey Epstein's criminal network. Congressman Jamie Raskin says a whistleblower detailed that and a list of Maxwell's prison perks, from playing with puppies to computer use.
The whistleblower made clear that Ghislaine Maxwell is just in a completely different category than every other prisoner. She gets essentially room service behind bars. She can use the shower. She can use the gym whenever she wants to.
The family of Virginia Giuffre are horrified. In Virginia's posthumous memoir, she called Maxwell a sexual predator who trafficked her to rich and powerful men, alleging the former Prince Andrew sexually abused her when she was just a minor.
If King Charles can strip Andrew of the prince title over just affiliations, why is our president not definitively ruling out a convicted sex trafficker of minors, of children?
Donald Trump's lawyer interviewed Maxwell in federal prison last July after she claimed President Trump was not involved in any illegal activities. Maxwell was suddenly transferred to this prison camp. Congressman Raskin claims the whistleblower says the warden there is helping Maxwell apply for her freedom.
Ghislaine Maxwell is actively seeking a commutation, a pardon from the president right now.
The White House says it does not comment on potential clemency requests, but the president has said before he has not ruled out a pardon. Sandy?
CTV's Joy Malbon. Now, new travel frustration today in the U.S., even with an end in sight on the government shutdown after a vote in the Senate. The Federal Aviation Administration canceled more flights today, an increase of 6% from yesterday, and more will be called down on Friday to help with staffing shortages among unpaid air traffic controllers. The Senate, with the help of some Democrats, passed a deal late yesterday to fund the government through January 30th, and a vote in the House is expected as early as tomorrow. The American Secretary of State Marco Rubio has joined his Canadian counterpart Anita Anand in Niagara on the Lake as the Foreign Affairs Minister hosts her global counterparts for G7 talks. CTV's Rachel Aiello is there. Okay, Rachel, what's the focus of discussions at this gathering in Ontario?
Hey, Sandy. So the focus here is really on trying to find shared cooperation on a series of shared challenges. So on the economy, on energy, and on security. And to that end, in addition to just having the foreign ministers of all G7 countries here in Niagara on the Lake, Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand has invited several other countries who have stakes in these games, including Mexico, Ukraine, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, South Korea. So those are some of the folks who are participating in these conversations. And we heard from Minister Anand a little earlier on this evening, and she outlined a bit more of what the motivation was to have them around the table as well. Take a listen.
Meeting global challenges requires global partnerships. The issues we are facing transcend the G7 and our borders. And this is why it is absolutely vital that we have diverse geographic representation around the table.
All right, Rachel, the elephant in the room has to be Donald Trump's tariffs, right?
Without a question, Sandy. You know, it's not formally on the agenda, but as has been the case for a series of other of these kind of G7, G20 meetings that have been happening over the last year, Donald Trump and his instability is looming large. It was the case when Foreign Minister at the time, Melanie Joly, hosted her counterparts in Charlevoix in March. It was the case when I covered the Banff Finance Ministers meeting in May, and certainly when he came to Kananaskis in June, it was front and center. Now, we're going to have an opportunity to see where things stand, because Anita Anand, Canada's Foreign Minister, is going to be holding a bilateral meeting with U.S. Secretary Marco Rubio on the sidelines of this summit tomorrow. Sandy?
Okay, Rachel, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The playing of the last post as Canadians pause to remember the soldiers who fought in service of this country and those who never came home. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we remember them as thousands attend the poignant National Remembrance Day ceremony in Ottawa. CTV's Abigail Beeman begins our coverage.
They came to Ottawa from coast to coast.
We have so many Newfoundlanders and who've passed through the wars.
I feel we owe a debt of gratitude to those servicemen and women who, from the past, the present, and the future.
There's a heaviness, knowing each year fewer and fewer are at the national ceremony like Elmer Friesen. Here from Calgary at 103. Second World War veterans now number fewer than 4,000.
I'm so glad that my son thought I should come here to experience this alive. So moving.
If we don't remember, well, the world's enough of a mess. You can see what happens when we don't.
Time marches on. Now we have to remember our newer veterans, ones returning from Afghanistan, Bosnia, and the newer conflicts, and what we're facing today.
My transition's been pretty good. I have good days, bad days. To be here today is something that I've always wanted to do.
A service imbued with meaning. The Silver Cross mother, Nancy Payne, remembers son Randy, killed in Afghanistan. Weather so miserable, the traditional fly past replaced by a single helicopter. But still, they stood.
Do you want to stand up? Yes, I do.
Elmer Friesen determined to lay a poppy on the tomb of the unknown soldier for his late brother.
They sacrificed so many guys and never came home. And here I am sitting here and people are admiring me for, and it was a privilege for me to be in the service.
It has become a tradition to lay a poppy here after the ceremony, a small but impactful gesture, leaving a striking red tribute to all those who served and those who gave their lives for Canada. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
From coast to coast, communities held ceremonies to express gratitude to fallen heroes. This was Victory Square in Vancouver, where thousands gathered to pay their respects. In Manitoba, the Royal Winnipeg Rifles, known as the Little Black Devils, hosted a ceremony at Vimy Ridge Memorial Park, a place for people to gather and remember. And in St. John's, the Ode to Newfoundland played as those who made the ultimate sacrifice were honored. And as we honor those who served our country, there is talk about the physical and mental toll that military service can take. Now a high-profile Canadian wants to help provide a better understanding. CTV's Natalie Johnson reports from Toronto.
It's about 5K.
Down on the boardwalk by his East End home, Aaron O'Toole still maintains a quick pace in life after politics.
When I run, I generally go to the volleyball courts.
The former federal Conservative leader harnesses physical activity to support brain health, grateful that he never suffered a brain injury during his years of service in the military.
Our veterans serve, and many of them come back with injuries, both physical, mental, some aren't visible. And traumatic brain injury is something that we're really starting to understand.
Now, in this time of remembrance, O'Toole is pledging to donate his brain when he dies to Project Enlist. Research conducted by the Concussion Legacy Foundation to better understand the impact of military service on the brain.
You first think of the roadside bomb and, the light armored vehicle and the concussion, but it doesn't have to be that dramatic.
It's this revelation that it's not just concussions, it's the cumulative non-concussive impacts over time that people sustain during the course of their service that can end up leading to mental health issues, neurodegenerative disease, CTE.
Even though O'Toole didn't suffer head trauma during his time in the military, his brain can serve as a baseline or control for the testing. So far, more than 500 veterans have pledged to donate their brains for research.
I think we need to make sure we have the best protection, headgear and other things for our men and women in uniform. And we have to find treatment methods to reduce injury and treat it early so that there can be a quality of life.
Quality of life that is so critical year-round, well after Canadians take off their poppies when the Remembrance Day ceremony ends.
I hope this donation will take place a long time in the future, but I want to be part of something that is so positive.
Arming the Canadian military with research that will help to better educate and equip, another step forwards in supporting those who serve. Natalie Johnson, CTV News, Toronto.
November 11th is also Veterans Day in the U.S., and it was marked with a solemn tribute. U.S. President Donald Trump laid a wreath at Arlington National Cemetery and thanked the troops and veterans for their service.
Hello, everybody. What? As we approach Veterans Day, I wanted to stop by and just say thank you for your extraordinary service. To you, your family.
And that's former President Barack Obama surprising a flight of 79 veterans and their families as they landed in Washington this weekend. The Honor Flight Network released the video today. Solemn ceremonies also held across parts of Europe. In Paris, French President Emmanuel Macron drove down the Champs-Élysées, escorted by cavalry and troops. He laid flowers under the Arc de Triomphe before greeting military veterans. And in the UK, the Princess of Wales attended a national memorial ceremony paying tribute to those who have served in the British military and died while fighting, while Queen Camilla led a remembrance service at Paddington train station, laying a wreath of poppies. A suspected suicide bomber killed at least 12 people and wounded 27 outside a courthouse in Pakistan today. Footage shows smoke rising in the aftermath of the deadly attack. The bomber struck near the entrance of an Islamabad courthouse around lunchtime when the area was crowded. The government says extremist groups were involved in the attack. A search and rescue operation is underway after a Turkish military cargo plane crashed in Western Asia. The C-130 aircraft went down in Georgia shortly after taking off from neighboring Azerbaijan with 20 people on board. Aviation officials say they lost contact with the aircraft after it entered Georgia's airspace. No distress call was issued by the plane. And tensions are rising between the U.S. and Venezuela as an American aircraft carrier moved into the Caribbean today. These images of armed forces carrying out military drills were broadcast across the South American country. Venezuela's president says the U.S. is seeking to remove him from power. The Gerald Ford is the world's largest aircraft carrier. The Pentagon says the deployment will disrupt narcotics trafficking. The U.S. has killed more than 70 people in strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean and Pacific. And now as we head to break, a poignant moment of reflection and remembrance from a veteran of the Second World War.
It's been so moving, you know. I really felt the what shall I say, the sacrifice of so many guys and never came home, and here I am sitting here.
Hundreds of thousands of Quebec households awoke this morning without electricity after wintry weather knocked down power lines in the southern part of the province. The mixed bag of freezing rain and snow created hazardous road conditions and forced dozens of school closures. The province's deadline for drivers to install winter tires is December the 1st. A warning now from some health experts that this upcoming flu season might be a bad one. It's based on what happened in the Southern Hemisphere, where the flu season runs from May to October, and also on the strain of influenza circulating. CTV's Heather Wright with what you can expect and what your options are. Hey, Heather.
Well, Sandy, one of the strains of the flu that's circulating right now is known to be a more severe strain of the virus. And there are concerns that the vaccine developed months ago might not be a perfect match for what's out there.
Flu season has begun, and experts are warning this one may be particularly tough.
The specific strain we're worried about this year is called H3N2. It tends to have more severe seasons.
Though not a direct indicator, countries in the north always look to the south for clues to how the upcoming flu season might unfold, as theirs starts earlier. And in Australia, this year was particularly bad. The highest number of lab-confirmed cases ever amid declining vaccination rates. Another challenge, the vaccine developed for the upcoming flu season is not a perfect match to the strain circulating.
The idea of these vaccines is you do a best estimate earlier in the year. You try and predict what's going to emerge, but the virus mutates very quickly. And some years that match is very good. Some years it's not as good. We may be running into a situation this year, and I think may is the important word because it's not a perfect prediction where the match is not as good.
This year's flu vaccine targets 2 influenza A strains, including a subtype of H3N2, as well as an influenza B strain. And even if it's not a perfect match, doctors say some protection is better than no protection.
Even if it's not a perfect match, there'll be some degree of protection. You might still get sick, but you might be protected from, for example, hospitalization or pneumonia, or the more severe consequences of infection.
The Public Health Agency of Canada says it's far too early to predict whether Canada will see a more severe flu season. Among the factors that will have an impact are, of course, the effectiveness of the vaccine, but also other respiratory illnesses like RSV and COVID. Sandy.
All right, CTV's Heather Wright. And as we go to break, a personal perspective on Remembrance Day.
All the families who themselves bear the scars of military service. Their loss is our loss, and we join them in remembrance today and all days.
Hikers are descending on PEI for a month-long 700-kilometer loop around the island. Now, for some, it's a way to help find their footing after tragedy. For others, it's a test of endurance. CTV's Maria Saru is wandering the path and spoke to a former military pilot. Maria.
Sandy, it's called the Island Walk, and much of it runs right here on the Confederation Trail. Some tackle it by foot, some by bike, with many finding hard-earned healing along the way.
Boots on red soil and one step after another. Veteran Sheldon White finished part of the Island Walk this fall, a 707-kilometer loop around PEI as a personal challenge.
The military experience helped a little bit because I was familiar with going on long marches, but it was more challenging than I expected.
White flew airlifters for search and rescue and served a tour in Afghanistan before returning to the island to teach engineering. The former commander says out here, the mission is simple but not easy.
Walking for 5 hours straight without a break is actually fairly hard. And then to do that multiple times, I have a lot of respect for the people who've done the entire walk.
It's been a hell of a trip. Sandra Cernowski from Winnipeg walked for 32 days carrying profound personal loss.
I wanted to find out who I was after my husband passed away, after his battle with cancer.
All around, there were signs he was walking with her.
So this penny here, can you see it? There was a day on the trail and I looked down and I found a penny. I picked it up and I looked really close and it said 1972 on it. And my husband was born in 1972.
Bryson Guptill created the Island Walk in 2019 after finishing a couple long treks in Europe. He wanted to give Canadians the experience closer to home.
When you walk for over a month and you're carrying everything you own on your back, it's a very, very cleansing experience.
Back on the road, White aims to finish the walk next year.
There's still some time before this trail closes in December, but those planning for the full walk might want to wait for it to reopen in the spring. Sandy.
Okay. Thanks, Maria. As we say goodbye on this Remembrance Day, a few lines from the poem For the Fallen that was written by Englishman Lawrence Binyon in tribute to all the casualties of war. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun in the morning, we will remember them. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Bye for now.